If you ever find yourself walking through the streets of Cleveland, Ohio, there's one house you might want to think twice about getting too close to. It looks like a castle. It has massive stone walls, dark windows, towers, and a history filled with death, strange stories, and rumors of things that shouldn't be there. This is Franklin Castle, and for decades, people have claimed that something inside this old building never truly left. But here's the disturbing part. Franklin Castle isn't some ancient European fortress. It was built right here in America, and the stories surrounding it became so strange that the building eventually earned a reputation as one of the most haunted places in Cleveland. But before we get into the ghosts, hidden rooms, and terrifying stories connected to this place, we need to go back to the beginning, because the real history of Franklin Castle is already dark enough. The building was originally known as the Tiedemann House. Construction began in the early 1880s for a wealthy German-American businessman named Hannes Tiedemann. At the time, this part of Cleveland was becoming home to wealthy families, and Tiedemann wanted a house that would stand out, and stand out it certainly did. The massive stone structure looked more like a European castle than an ordinary Cleveland residence. It featured elaborate architectural details, towers, heavy stonework, and a distinctive Gothic appearance. But behind those impressive walls, tragedy would soon become part of the home's history. Hannes Tiedemann and his family experienced several deaths during the years they lived there. One of the most tragic was the death of Tiedemann's daughter, Emma. She died as a teenager in 1891, and not long afterward, Tiedemann's wife, Louise, also died. These deaths became part of the stories later associated with the house, but this is where the history and the legend begin to blur. Over the years, stories started spreading about what had supposedly happened inside the mansion. Some claimed that the house contained secret rooms. Others claimed there were hidden passageways and strange spaces built into the walls. And eventually, even more disturbing stories began circulating. People claimed they had heard unexplained sounds inside the building. Some said they had seen strange figures. Others claimed doors moved on their own. And then there were stories about a mysterious presence that seemed to remain inside the castle. But were these actually paranormal events? Or did the building's strange architecture and tragic history simply create the perfect environment for rumors to grow? That's where the story of Franklin Castle gets even more interesting. Because by the middle of the 20th century, the building had already developed a reputation that was very different from the elegant family home it was originally designed to be. And when people began exploring the abandoned and deteriorating structure, they claimed to find things that only made the legend stronger. Rooms that seemed to have no obvious purpose, unusual architectural details, and dark corners that looked like they belonged in a horror movie. But one particular feature would become one of the most talked about mysteries surrounding Franklin Castle, a supposed secret room hidden somewhere inside the massive structure. And if the stories are true, this wasn't just any room. It may have been connected to one of the darkest chapters in the castle's history. So what was supposedly hidden inside Franklin Castle? And why did people believe someone had gone to such extreme lengths to conceal it? That's where we're going next. The secrets inside Franklin Castle. That mysterious room is one of the reasons Franklin Castle became so famous. But there's a problem. The more you investigate the story, the harder it becomes to separate what was actually documented from what was added to the legend decades later. Over the years, people claimed that Franklin Castle contained hidden rooms and secret passages. Some stories even suggested that the house had been designed with concealed spaces for people to hide in. And because of the building's enormous size and unusual architecture, those stories sounded believable. But there's another reason the rumors became so powerful. Franklin Castle had already developed an atmosphere that looked like something straight out of a horror movie. Its stone exterior was dark and imposing. Its towers rose above the surrounding neighborhood, and inside, the building contained narrow stairways, heavy wooden doors, unusual rooms, and architectural details that could easily make an ordinary sound feel terrifying. Then came some of the strangest stories connected to the building. People who claimed to have explored Franklin Castle reported hearing unexplained noises. Some described footsteps when nobody else was around. Others claimed to have heard voices or sounds coming from empty parts of the house. And there were stories of objects apparently moving without explanation. But perhaps the most famous paranormal claim involves a woman who was supposedly seen inside the castle. According to local stories, visitors and investigators have reported seeing the figure of a woman dressed in black. Some versions of the story connect her to the tragic history of the Tiedemann family. The problem is that there is no reliable historical evidence proving that this apparition actually exists. And that distinction matters because Franklin Castle has been surrounded by so many stories over the years that some of them have become almost impossible to trace back to their original source. One story becomes another, a rumor gets repeated, someone adds a new detail, and eventually, decades later, people remember the legend as if it were documented history. But there is one thing about Franklin Castle that is completely real. The building went through enormous changes after the Tiedemann family left. It eventually passed through different owners and uses, and over time, the once grand mansion deteriorated. By the 20th century, Franklin Castle no longer looked like the wealthy family's magnificent home it had once been. And then something unexpected happened. The building became associated with organized crime. During Prohibition, Cleveland had a reputation for bootlegging and organized criminal activity, and Franklin Castle's location and fortress-like appearance helped fuel stories that criminals had used the building. Some accounts claim it was connected to the Mayfield Road mob. Other stories say the castle was used for secret meetings or illegal activity. Again, the details are difficult to verify, but the idea of a giant stone mansion with hidden rooms, mysterious visitors, and a connection to organized crime was almost too perfect for Cleveland's growing legend. And then came one of the most important chapters in the castle's history. The building eventually became badly damaged and neglected. By the late 20th century, Franklin Castle had survived decades of deterioration, but it hadn't survived everything. In 1999, a devastating fire tore through the structure. The fire caused serious damage to the building, and for a place already surrounded by rumors, the destruction only made the castle seem even more mysterious. Parts of the interior were damaged. The structure became even more difficult to explore, and the building's reputation as a haunted place continued to grow. But here's where the story takes an even stranger turn, because some people believe that castle's most frightening stories didn't come from the people who lived there. They came from the people who entered it afterward. Paranormal investigators began visiting the property, and according to later accounts, some investigators claimed to experience strange sounds, unexplained sensations, and unusual activity. But are those experiences evidence of something supernatural, or can an enormous, damaged, nearly abandoned 19th century building create strange sounds and terrifying experiences all by itself? That's the question that has followed Franklin Castle for decades. And there's one final mystery we haven't talked about yet. A mystery involving the people who lived there, the deaths that occurred inside the house, and the legend that something may still be watching from behind those old stone walls. That's where the story gets truly unsettling. To understand why people believe Franklin Castle is haunted, you have to look at what happened to the family who originally lived there. Hannes Tiedemann had built the house as a symbol of wealth and success, but the family's time inside the mansion was marked by tragedy. Several members of the Tiedemann family died during the years they lived there. The death of Hannes' daughter, Emma, was particularly heartbreaking. She died in 1891 at just 15 years old, and only a few months later, another tragedy struck the family. Hannes' wife, Louise, died as well. For a family already dealing with loss, the deaths must have been devastating. But later generations would look back at these events and see something darker. As stories about Franklin Castle developed, some people began suggesting that the house itself was connected to the deaths. The idea was simple. Too many tragedies had happened inside the same walls. Maybe something had been left behind. Maybe the people who died there never truly left. And that idea became the foundation for many of the castle's ghost stories. One of the most famous legends involves the spirit of a woman. People have claimed to see a dark female figure inside the building. In some versions of the story, she appears near the upper floors. In others, she's simply described as a shadow moving through the castle. But there is no reliable historical evidence confirming that this apparition is connected to any particular member of the Tiedemann family. And that's important because Franklin Castle's reputation grew long after the original family had disappeared from the building. By the 20th century, the mansion had already become a local curiosity. Its unusual appearance attracted attention. Its deteriorating condition made it look even more mysterious, and stories about hidden rooms and secret passages added another layer to the legend. Then came the rumors of organized crime. During the Prohibition era, Cleveland was home to powerful criminal organizations. Franklin Castle's fortress-like design made it easy for people to imagine that it could have been used for secret meetings or illegal activity. Some stories connected the building to Cleveland's Mayfield Road mob, but once again, many of the dramatic details repeated online are difficult to prove from reliable historical records. That's something you see again and again with famous haunted locations. A real place develops a strange reputation. People tell stories about it. Those stories get repeated, and eventually, the legend becomes bigger than the original history. Franklin Castle is a perfect example, because even if you remove every ghost story, the building is still fascinating. It survived more than a century of change. It was once a wealthy family's home. It later became associated with rumors of criminal activity. It deteriorated, and then, in 1999, a major fire caused severe damage, but perhaps the most unsettling part came afterward. The castle's haunted reputation didn't disappear, it became stronger. People continued reporting strange experiences. Some visitors claimed to hear footsteps in empty rooms. Others described unexplained noises coming from areas where nobody appeared to be present. And some paranormal investigators claimed they captured unusual sounds or experienced unexplained sensations while inside. But none of this proves that the building is haunted. There are many ordinary explanations for strange experiences inside an enormous 19th century structure. Old wood expands and contracts. Pipes make noises. Wind moves through gaps in walls. Large, Empty buildings create echoes that can make sounds extremely difficult to locate. And when someone enters a place already famous for ghosts, the human brain naturally looks for patterns. A strange sound becomes a footstep, a shadow becomes a figure, a cold draft becomes something supernatural. But that still leaves one question. Why has the Franklin Castle legend survived for so long? Maybe it's because the building itself looks like it belongs in a horror story. Maybe it's because its history contains real tragedy. Or maybe it's because every generation that enters those walls seems to come away with another story. And there's something else that makes Franklin Castle different from many haunted locations. You don't need to believe in ghosts to find the place unsettling. All you need to do is stand outside and look at it. The massive stone walls, the dark windows, the towers, the age of the structure, and the knowledge that people have been telling frightening stories about this place for generations. Franklin Castle has survived fires, neglect, changing owners, and decades of rumors. But the biggest mystery remains unanswered. When people say they hear something moving through those empty rooms, what exactly are they hearing? Is it simply an old building settling around them? Is it the imagination responding to an atmosphere built for fear? Or is there something inside Franklin Castle that has never been completely explained? Whatever the answer is, one thing is certain. The legend of Franklin Castle isn't disappearing anytime soon.